We are glad that you are here. We welcome you today as we worship here on this Sunday of Christmas. Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. This is the fourth Sunday of Advent. In just a moment, we're going to light our fourth Sunday Advent candle. We look forward to Christmas Day in just a couple of days. Let me encourage you to reach into your bulletin and grab those two inserts. There is the yellow insert, which is our Christmas card. We've got a variety of events coming up. We've got Christmas Eve service tomorrow night. We'll talk more about that in a little while. We've got our Sunday school breakfast next Sunday. So see those places that you can serve and would be willing to serve and fill that out. And more importantly, we have this white insert here that is about 2019. We're looking for worship servants for 2019. If you'd be willing to serve in any form, capacity of worship, please fill that out today. And make sure you put your name on it. I can't decipher your handwriting if you don't put your name on it. I'm not that wise. I have ESPN, but not ESP. So I can't discover whose signature it is just by checking it. So fill that out if you would at this time. I would ask you to please stand, if you will, for the lighting of our Advent candle. During the season of Advent, as you've been seeing our banner that we have up every year, there are 4 themes that go with this season that represent the 4 weeks of Advent. Our first week of Advent is the candle of peace. We remember that Christ is the Prince of Peace. Our second candle that we light is the candle of hope. We hope and we long for the once Messiah who came and is coming again. Last Sunday, we lit the candle of joy. It's the pink candle. It's different than the others. It's a reminder to us that we're halfway through. And Christmas is it's that much closer. But we're also very excited knowing that we're one day closer to Christ's return. And then today, our last Sunday of Advent, we light this candle of love. Remembering that Jesus is the full embodiment of love. And that He loves the world and He loves you and me. Thank you for all of our friends far and near who come to be with us. And we pray, God, that your Spirit will come and hover over this place. But don't just hover, Lord. Sit here with us. Come and be a part of our lives. Come know us as we open ourselves to you. Holy Spirit, we are yours, and we are glad to be in your presence. Lord, bless all that we do, and may what we do be a blessing unto you. We pray this now in Jesus' name, and let God's people say, amen, amen. Let's sing together now. Number 234. Oh, come all you faithful.
Oh,
So you got all kinds of nativity things here, don't you? And well, what are some pieces you see here? What is that? A cow, and then you got one of these sheep, and then what are these guys over here? No? They're shepherds, that's exactly right. And right in the middle, who do you think these people are? Mary and Joseph, that's exactly right. And so, and this angel is exactly right. And all of these things are part of our Christmas scene because Jesus was born. We know that Jesus was born not inside, not in a house. He was born kind of in a stable. Now, very interesting, we see a wooden stable. There wasn't a lot of wood when Jesus lived. So Jesus was probably born in a cave. Man, anybody ever been in a cave before? Been in a cave? Yeah. But can you imagine having to live in a cave? Well, that's kind of what they did. That's what they cut their houses into. Because when you go into a cave, a cave's kind of cool and kind of keeps the temperature all year round. Jesus was probably born in an animal cave. That's where they kept their animals. So you've got all these guys, and we know the shepherds who we're talking about today came to see Jesus. You've got Mary and Joseph, the parents of Jesus, that somebody's missing. The wise men are in the room. They are. If you look, can you all see in that very back corner? Ann, will you wave at everybody? See Ann back there waving? See Ann back there waving? The wise men are on the back of the room. Why? Because the wise men show up. A lot of times we put them here, but we know that it tells us that when they came to see Jesus, they came to see him in a house. Yeah, it might have been a while later. So Jesus wasn't in the stable. So we bring our wise men later on. They'll show up here in a couple of weeks. We'll put them. I'll actually get y'all to help me. We'll put them at the nativity scene is what we'll do. But there is somebody else missing. Who? Jesus. That's exactly right. Now, if you all been around me for a while, you all know what I like to do with the baby Jesus from here. What I like to do is I hide him. That's exactly right. Jesus is somewhere in the building. No, rephrase it. He's somewhere in this room. Okay. Now, he is here somewhere. But here's why I do this. One, because it's a lot of fun to kind of play hide and seek church. And it's kind of fun to do that. And I like it that you all like to come back into the sanctuary and you like to hunt him and find him. And I can give a prize to the one who finds him first and who tells me where they found him. Now, I'm going to tell you, he is in the same location last week because here's what I want to tell you. You can find him because you can see him if you look hard enough. But I want to tell you, Wednesday, I had senior high youth in here looking for baby Jesus, and they didn't find him. So he's in probably the best hiding spot I've ever been in. But I'm going to tell you, if you look hard enough, and if you look high and you look low, you find Jesus. Because what are we doing? Look at me. Right? Mark, Brooklyn, I know you're looking. She's looking high. I promise you, he's not somewhere way up there that you can't get him. You can find him. I promise you. Here's my point. Christmas is about looking for Jesus. Christmas is about expecting not presents to open and not traveling to see family. Christmas is about finding Jesus in our hearts. And so we go on a search every year here in our building to remind us that's what Christmas is all about. God sent us Jesus, being born in a manger, in a stable, among animals and shepherds, to his mother Mary and his father Joseph, and they found Jesus, and we want to do the same thing. But we also want to remember this. It's just like what you all do with me. The first person that finds him, you run to him. You're like, I found him. That's exactly what the shepherds did. When they found him, they got so excited, and they went back to tell others. Now, Mary gave the shepherds a supper like I like to give to you all. But that's the excitement that we want to share. Christmas isn't about what we unwrap. It's not about paper and bows and ribbons. It's not even about December 25th. It's about finding Jesus and telling others about him. Okay? So I'm going to give you a moment. We're actually going to, before we head off to children's church, Linda's going to have some high school music. And you all going to give you about 1 minute. Find that individual, Linda. I'm going to give you 1 minute, and you can, don't run. Everybody's got to walk. But you can go look for, you can go look for, go see if you can find maybe Jesus, okay? It's just for children. You couldn't find him because he was not at their level. And here's also the good news. Blaine, I'll get your reward. You hear me? Jesus comes at our level. He comes right at our level. You don't have to be tall. You don't have to be small. He comes right at the perfect level. Thank you, Blaine. And yes, so on tomorrow night, as a matter of fact, at Christmas Eve, if you'll come back, we're going to put baby Jesus in danger season. We're not going to put him there until tomorrow night. Okay, Blaine, you got your reward. Good job, buddy. I love your excitement. I found him. That's good stuff. Let's pray, okay? What a fun time, Lord. Looking for Jesus today. Thank you, Dave. You felt us. Did we feel you? Thank you for the wisdom, girls. That's why the children's I'm sorry. I got a little weepy. Sorry. That's a first. Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still we see you lie. Would you stand and let's sing that one together? A lot of you have been bringing these in. Tomorrow night we're gonna line the front of our wall here with these luminaries. Yes, they're milk jugs, but we're gonna place candles in each and every one of them that you bring. If you want to bring one still, you're welcome to. We will put sand and we'll light these candles in. Here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Write the name in memory or in honor of someone that you would like to have those candles lit. And you're welcome to do that between now and tomorrow evening. If you bring it at 6 o'clock, expect to get done lighting and get more done. So they need to be here by noon tomorrow at the very latest. And what time are you going to, they just kind of, okay, so if you want help, you want to do some preliminary work, you can come over at noon tomorrow and help put those things on. So thank you very much. We've got other special things going on tomorrow evening as well. That's a special blessing. Anybody else? Choir, got some good news for you?
Two new people in Sunday school, Elvin and Adaya. Oh, I said
yeah, very good. Welcome. Robin, would you like to introduce, or do you not want to embarrass them? And,
This is Elvin and Adaya, and they're hanging out with us.
Very good. Welcome. And this duo and a couple of their friends went Christmas caroling with us on Thursday. I appreciate that. Appreciate them involved in our ministry like that. And they got very good results. So welcome them. All right. Anybody out here in our congregation has some good news? Cindy, I see that hand. Yes, ma'am.
I am just so happy that our grandson Marky White is with us today.
Yeah, welcome, Marky. Glad to hear that. All right. Anybody else?
Chris, I got that. I read it on Thursday night.
Oh, wow. Well, sorry. Well, praise God for that, Larry. I'm grateful that decision was made. All right, so, celebrating, he did give that, Larry. You said brother-in-law? Larry's brother-in-law confessed his belief in Christ and was baptized on Wednesday, and then he died this morning. So we want to celebrate his homegoing. That's a great news. What a wonderful Christmas Eve experience into that. Congregation, anybody else out here who want to share some good news? Anyone?
Happy Peter this morning.
Yeah, all of you. Yeah, very good. Welcome back. Anyone else? All right, well, we're going to turn to prayer requests, and we want to remember those things. Turn to somebody sitting next to you real quickly and take about 30 seconds and talk about a request of prayer that you have going on in your life. So share with somebody very quickly while I get a sip of water, okay? Share with somebody a prayer request in your life. Let us pray today for our nation, particularly in the current government furlough, the shutdown of our government that Republicans and Republicrats will get together and work together and open our government back up, because that's a real effect on real people's lives. So we want to pray for our nation today. Also, as our president has made a decision to draw back our troops from Syria, these are big things going on in the life of our U.S. world in that way. So might we pray? Continue to pray for our military. We've got persons directly involved from this congregation that are involved in our U.S. military, and family of members of this congregation that are involved in our U.S. military. So might we pray for them. As we make the turn towards the new year, we've got one last Sunday of the year. However, in just in about, actually, 2 months from today, the General Conference of the United Methodist Church is going to be meeting in St. Louis, Missouri. They have some very important decisions to make about the future of our United Methodist Church. 2 months from today, might you pray over the next 60 days. Pray every day. spend some time every day mentioning United Methodist Church in front of our God, that He would direct us and those who gather to make those important decisions for the future of our church. Our district superintendent, Mark Dickinson, many of you met Mark before. He's preached here. He's been here to worship with us. Mark has suffered ill over the last couple of weeks. He is suffering with a bulging disc. A vertebrae is giving him all kinds of trouble. He says he hasn't missed a day of work in 15 years until this year. And I told him, I graciously, kindly said, this is what being a DS does to you, makes you sick. So, might be praying. I hope he's not watching. Let's pray for Mark and pray for his family, his wife and Jennifer, and their 3 great daughters. We want to remember them always in our prayers today. I know there are other requests, so I'm going to turn to our choir. You share the prayers for the choir. What would you like to add to the prayer today? Anybody specific you want us to pray for today? Yeah, Johnny in recovery. Johnny is now, I'm tapping the organ, Johnny's in room 113 at the Greenwood Nursing and Rehab Center out near Greenwood High School. Go by him and visit him. Just say hello. He'll talk your head off if you've got some time, all right? Spend some time with him. He would enjoy that. So, anybody else want to pray for today? Rusty Shepherd.
Lloyd Johnson.
Lloyd Johnson.
Debbie Wells is Jamie's mother, and she has lost her dad, her sister, and she's burying her mother tomorrow in the last 6 months.
Oh, my goodness. Sorry for that. Thank you for sharing with somebody. Forgive Calvin. I'm coming home Tuesday. Somebody else? How about your congregation? What would you like to add? What requests do you have today? Anything, Mark? Cindy?
Jim Aller, our brother-in-law, found out at Thanksgiving he had a tumor behind his eye, and they knew that it had metastasized, it was somewhere else, and he's got it in his lungs and his skull, and he's having in other different places, but he's having chemotherapy, so if we just pray that the chemotherapy would work.
That's Jim, is his name.
And also, if you don't mind, Connie and Bruce, as they're struggling with some health issues.
Okay, I think Bruce heard it. Someone else? Doug Alton. Mama, yes, ma'am?
Remember Larry, he's going through treatments on his face, and then he has to start his back and his chest, so
Okay.
he's really uncomfortable, so just remember him in prayer.
Okay. Larry B. Going through some cancer treatments. Julie, yes, ma'am?
The family of John Hendricks.
John Hendricks. Did I get that name right?
Yes.
Gary, we've got a slight hum. I don't know, the gain is up on something. It's just a slight hum. Robin?
Maria.
Okay. All right.
Little me, and mom.
Okay. Rob Mary?
Maxine Darcy's family, her dad, and also we need to remember Shirley Hall. She was the district president of our Bowling Green district for many years of the UNW. And she's from State Street, and she's worked very hard in this community.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Someone, Alfred, yes, ma'am?
Claudia.
Okay, yeah, Claudia's dealing with a lot of health issues. Sure. Somebody sit.
Susie Mitchell, Twin Valley, she had a surgery this past Thursday, had a bladder removed,
Okay.
and she's doing well right now. She's in the hospital now. Keep her husband Gary in our prayer.
All right. Thank you. Someone else? Laura?
Just want to remember Ashley, she's leaving January 1st, and she'll be going on for 4 months in the semester at sea.
Sure. Well, Ashley is leaving about a week. I want to pray for Ashley. She'll be taking a semester.
Unless I don't take it.
Unless you don't take it. Okay. Someone else? Philip Lynch. Thank you. Someone else? Let's pray to the Lord this time. Would you join me in this prayer? Lord, we are very, very grateful for this day, the day that you have made. We rejoice in the goodness of it. We rejoice in the celebration of this season. Thank you for the friends and the family that are here today. Thank you for your worldwide family that's gathering in many locations throughout this day. Some people rose a lot earlier in our world time, and they've already been to worship, and they're now enjoying their day well into the evening of this day's rest. Some will follow us as we move across the time zones in our nation, and many will gather. Lord, I just kind of see this as, like we do at ball games, like the wave of worship, as it begins in the first time zone of our world, and it just kind of is a rushing wave across this planet. This is the day, God, of the day that you deserve our great worship. Not more than any other, but the day when we gather just a couple of days before Christmas. And we remember the triumph of you entering our world. And it was just like you putting a flag in the ground and saying, sin will be done. And the sacrifice of the lion and the lamb coming to us in the manger. The surrender of the Son in all of his glory and inhabiting human flesh. Oh God, thank you. Your Emmanuel presence is very much needed in the lives of friends and family that are mentioned here today. Your Emmanuel presence is needed for those who are going through the difficulty of this season as they experience grief. This is the first season for some here today without a loved one whom they sorely miss. Your Emmanuel presence is needed up at the hospitals, there in the rooms in Greenview and in the medical center. Your Emmanuel presence is needed, Lord, in those nursing facilities where our friend Johnny is, rehab centers where others are in recovery today. Your Emmanuel presence is needed in the hospice units and under the places where hospitalists is doing the work of caregiving to the dying. Your Emmanuel presence is needed in the funeral homes today, as those will gather to make arrangements or to go through the funeral of someone that we heard about today. Oh God, come, be near, be the Emmanuel in our lives. Draw near to us and inhabit our dwelling place. Fill our homes and our cars and our lives with your very presence. Come, be God with us, and God in us, and God among us. We pray today, God, collectively for our worldwide United Methodist Church. As in 2 months from today, those delegates will gather in St. Louis from all over the world to make very important decisions about the future of our church. Guide them. Show them the way. We pray today for our bishop, for our district superintendent who is suffering through illness and a difficult place of not feeling well with his back. Bring some relief, bring some comfort to his discomfort, and heal Mark today, we pray. Our prayers are also with all the many that have been shared today. Thank you that you have given us an opportunity to vocalize those requests. And now, O Lord, you've heard all of these things. You've heard our prayers. Now would you hear us as we unite our voices in one common prayer that we can all say together. You said, Jesus, when you pray, pray like this. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. As our ushers are about to receive and come your way to take up the offering, let me invite you again, drop these two inserts into the bulletin. excuse me, the offering plate today, so they come out of your We've got a variety of places to serve in the next few weeks, but then this is all about all of next year. Some of you would like to read scripture that you already chosen. Well, we need to know that, so put your name down, check that. Maybe you want to help hand out the bulletins, or maybe you want to do a solo in music, or you want to help open the doors and welcome people, or stand in our narthex. So you all know that every Sunday, someone is standing out in our narthex area, our vestibule area. They're standing watch so that you can feel comfortable and not worry about coming into our building. We do lock our building down. We lock our building down so that we have security and that we feel very comfortable knowing that children in the other part of the building are not going to be, somebody's not going to come in on them while they're enjoying children's church. We do this, and somebody sits there every Sunday while you worship. They're on point, and this is an opportunity for you to serve in that location. There is many more. What do? When we join the United Methodist Church? Remember what we do. We vow to support it by our prayers, our presence, our gifts, our service, and our witness. So serve today by letting us know how you would like to serve this time. Our ushers are ready. We have 2 Sundays left in the year. You've been very generous as we are wrapping up the year. We pray you continue to be generous in all that you have done and all you will do over this last 2 Sundays of 2018. Let's pray. Lord, as the ushers make their way, we pray you would make your way into our hearts, and that you would show us the way on how we can give and how we can be faithful with our resources. God, you tell us when we're faithful over a little, you'll make us faithful over more. That's just who you are. If you can trust us, Lord, with what little we have now, you can trust us with more when we're faithful with us. So bless this offering, and bless us and enlarge our territory, and give us a greater capacity to do greater good. We pray in Jesus' name, and let God's people say, amen. about the birth of Jesus and those who visit him not long after.
The shepherds and the angels. And in the same region there were shepherds out in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And an angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were filled with great fear. And the angel said to them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you good news of great joy that will be for all the people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is Christ the Lord. And this will be a sign for you. You will find a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angels a great multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, Glory be to God in the highest, and on earth peace among those with whom he is pleased. When the angels went away from them into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, Let us go over to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has made known to us. And they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in a manger. And when they saw it, they made known the saying that had been told them concerning this child. And all who heard it wondered at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured up all these things, pondering them in her heart. And the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, as it had been told to them.
This is the word of God for the people of God, and we say as a response, Thanks be to God. And you may be seated. Thank you so much for the appreciate that. Let's listen to the choir share with us their anthem at this time.
Thank you.
we encourage you to take those because we're going to reset the stage area for tomorrow night. So if you brought one, we want to encourage you to take those with you today. I really do appreciate that. So Christmas is in 2 days. Anybody still got any last minute shopping to do, to be honest? Okay, just a couple of you, 3 of you, all right. Christmas, among many things that it brings to us, Christmas is kind of it's a moving holiday, isn't it? We're on the move holiday, really, is what goes on. According to AAA.com, there's an estimated 103 million, actually 1/3 of our nation is going to be moving, going to be going to some location over this Christmas season. The average distance is going to be 50 plus miles that you're going to be traveling to or from, if you will. And they estimate, AAA.com tells us that 102 million people are going to be traveling by automobile. 102 million people on the road. I believe they're all going to be on Scotts Road at some time. Let's see here. Let's see who's going to be traveling this year. How many of you are going to be taking a holiday trip somewhere over the next few days? A few of you. Okay, very good. All right. Now, perhaps you've already done your traveling and you're traveled here. So let me just say to you, welcome home. We believe that Olive Garden stole the church's slogan, when you're here, you're family. When you're here, you're home. And we want you to know in the church, you're home. You know, this is the great thing about the church. You don't have to be of status. You don't have to be of privilege or means. You just have to be you. You don't have to be anything special. Because God doesn't look for special. He looks for ordinary sometimes. And that's what Christmas is about. Of God showing up in the ordinary. God showing up in the ordinary and making it extraordinary. So, welcome home. And when you're here, we want you to feel at home. We want you to feel like you're part of the family. But it's not the only traveling that's done around the automobile. Think about the traveling you do leading up to the holiday. How many miles will you spend going to shop? How many web places will you look into to find the best deal for your shopping? Well, the message title today fits pretty well for what's going on in our lives, what's going on around this season. The message title is Go. We've been talking about Christmas rush. Get ready, get set, go. And today is the go. Luke 2 introduced to us the first holiday travelers of Christmas. Before there was Christmas, there were shepherds, and they still exist today. They aren't who you would expect that would show up at the manger. It's not King Herod. It's not the religious elite. It's not those who knew that Jesus was going, the Messiah was going to be born in Bethlehem. They knew this. When we hear the wise men's story, the wise men show up at Herod's palace and say, where is he who was born the King of the Jews? And he gets the scholars together and they're like, oh, it's Bethlehem, because that's what our law says, and that's what our Old Testament prophets say. It's Bethlehem. But they never go there. Who does Jesus, through the angels, who is God, through the angels, reach out to? Ordinary people. Blue-collar folks, just like you and I. Sheep, other animals, they had to be led. Because you see, shepherds are always a wandering group. In this next photo that you'll see here, this is a photo, go back one if you will, Gary. This is a photo, it's kind of hard to make out, but this is a photo of a group of sheep in the Holy Land. I was lucky to have traveled there last February, as many of you know, and I took this picture from the top of the Herodian. This is one of Herod's great palaces that he built. And it kind of looks out and looms over that valley in that region where Bethlehem is. From the top of Herodian, you can see a few miles down the way to the capital city of Israel, Jerusalem, if you will, today. You can see this great place. And around this, as you can see in this photo, there's some green. But it's not all green. Israel is kind of it's kind of a green spot among a desert, is what's going on. And so the shepherds were always wandering, always leading sheep to the next watering hole, the next place to eat, constantly on the move. Bethlehem, the next photo we see here, Bethlehem was only about 6 miles from Jerusalem. That's from top of the Herodian as well. And in that valley in the near picture, this is where Bethlehem was, in the outskirts of Bethlehem. And if you were to look at the foggy distance of the mountains, and it was kind of hard to make out in that photo, but you could see Jerusalem in that photo. Bethlehem was only about 6 miles from Jerusalem. The religious elite were there. The high scholars of religion were there, but they never made that 6-mile trek to come to Bethlehem. They never went to the manger to see Jesus. But I'm going to tell you why Bethlehem is important. 2 reasons. Here they are. First and foremost, most of the fresh water that fed Jerusalem came out of Bethlehem. And the second reason, some of the best sheep that would be used in the sacrifice in the temple came from the region of Bethlehem. Now pause and consider that for just a moment. Let's remember what Jesus said himself. I am the living water. And we know that he says, I am the good shepherd. And he was led to slaughter. He becomes the lamb that was slain. The one who was born in Bethlehem that supplied water and sheep to Jerusalem would be the one himself who would embody the living water, and who would be the sheep that went to the slaughter for you and me. This is Jesus. Shepherds, we know from Luke chapter 2, are bedding their sheep down for the night. They're getting them corralled, getting them into a pen of protection and safety. And I imagine fire is lit, as we might see in this photo, this artistic interpretation. And I imagine stories are being told, and grumbling and complaining is going on. Who's going to cook the dinner, and whose turn is it? And I imagine all of this is going on until suddenly it tells us that the night became as bright as day. For the angels shone all around them. And the angels began to announce the birth of Jesus to these shepherds who had no idea that was going to happen. Imagine for you and I for just a moment, God showing up in the ordinary of our lives. And how often he does. And I fear that so many times God has shown up in the ordinary of our life that we've missed him because we've been so busy. Christmas is a busy season. And we find ourselves sometimes missing out on the extraordinary God showing up in the ordinary days because we're busy. Oh, that we would pay attention, because I guarantee you over the next 24 to 48 hours leading up into Christmas that God's going to show up in your ordinary day. He's going to do something extraordinary if you open yourself up to him. These shepherds are here. The night become as day, and they began to pronounce the good news, the angels did, and they told these shepherds 2 things about Jesus. First and foremost, Jesus will be born in the town of David. Well, now these shepherds knew what that was. As a matter of fact, Bethlehem is not the first place where a king would be born. Why do they call it the town of David? Because exactly this is where King David was born. King David, the first great king of Israel, the king after God's own heart, the king in which the God would say the line of kingship will go through, and Jesus is in the line of David. The first great king of Israel will be born in Bethlehem, and the second great king, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, will follow him many generations later, and Jesus would also be born in Bethlehem. And the angels also told the shepherds the second thing, you'll find Jesus in the manger. You'll find the baby born in a manger. Now, you know what? That resonated within their heart. If the angels had said, you will find Jesus sitting in the royal palace, the shepherds would have never gone. But a manger they get. A manger they understand. Because that's what they would take their animals to feed out of, or to be watered from. They understood. And they knew that this baby king, was not something that was outside their reach. It was well within their grasp. You know, think about this for you and I. Look for Christ in unexpected places. I don't think those shepherds had any inclination they would be the first visitors to the baby Jesus. I don't think they had any idea that they would be the first ones to witness the incarnation of God. Oh, how lucky they are. Oh, to have been a shepherd in that field that night. Imagine the guys who didn't go out that evening. Imagine what they missed. But we see 2 things about these shepherds. Verse 15, first and foremost. What do we see? When the angels had left them, let's read the rest together with me. The shepherd said, let's go to Bethlehem and see that this isn't happening. Let's go! Turn to somebody next to you and say, let's go. Come on, tell us. You ever said that to kids who kind of wandering behind? I say that every Sunday morning. Let's go! 9 o'clock rolls around, which is kind of my leave time, but I want to get here so I feel like I'm not too stressed. And after 9 o'clock rolls around, and when it's 9:01, I start feeling the stress. So I'm yelling, let's go at 10:09. Let's go. Some of you are thinking already, let's go, preacher, let's go, let's go. You notice what these shepherds did? They did that. They did that. Do you know what they left behind? Their sheep. Their animals. They left behind their livelihood. Shepherds didn't often own sheep. They were hired by others. Sometimes they were hired by the priests and the religious elite of Jerusalem to manage the sheep, the lambs, the flocks. Chances are they didn't own these animals. They're putting their life on the line. They're putting their livelihood on the line. But you know, when you get this invitation by an angel to go see the baby Jesus, to the King of Kings and the Messiah, it doesn't matter what you're leaving behind. What matters is what's in front of you. And I wonder so many times about us in our faith life, in our faith journey. How many of us were looking back and we're thinking about and we're fearful what we're leaving behind. And we're not looking about what's ahead of us and what's better in front of us. And I realize it's scary to follow Jesus. It's a scary thing because sometimes Jesus takes us in places and he sends us to unexpected things and he transforms our life and we get changed. But I'm going to tell you what, Jesus has never made a change in my life and hasn't made me better. I heard an amen. Say that again, Bernie. Amen. Thank you, brother. Jesus will never make a change in your life and ask you to come experience His birth and come experience His grace. That's not going to make you better. Don't be afraid of what's behind. You can leave it behind. God will take care of your behind. And He'll make your future better. The shepherds leave everything because they are so compelled to go. They are so excited about it. It's just like being drawn. This morning I looked out the back deck. Johnson's, y'all appreciate this, but our neighbors, the Casebeers, they live next door to us, and I see this mist rolling. And this mist is coming out of nowhere. And I'm like, where's this fog coming from? And so I'm like, what is that? I'm like, Alex is in there. I'm like, what's going on? He and I both looked up. Because the first thing we thought was fire. That's what I thought. Fire. Something's on fire. Christmas a few years ago, there was a fire in the Patterson household. Not our home, but my parents' home. So that kind of came back to my mind. But our neighbors were smoking meat out back. I'm hoping that's a Christmas blessing that comes back. But probably not. Johnson don't look forward to it either. I ain't going to get into it. You probably ain't either. You know, there's this thing that when something is so compelling, you just got to go. You got to go look. Alex and I kind of sprung to the window. And that was the night before Christmas, right? Yeah. Y'all know that. Verse 17. When the shepherds find him, would you read this verse out loud with us? Let's read it together. When they had seen him, they spread word concerning what had been told them about this child. You know, when they went and they found him in this manger, which they understood and they knew, and they discovered him, they couldn't keep that news to themselves. They had to tell somebody. They had to share that good news. Or it was just going to burst them. Talked about that a few weeks ago. They were just going to burst from the inside out if they didn't share the good news about someone. They went to spread the word. The first visitors to the manger were shepherds. The first evangelists to telling the good news of the Jesus Christ, Messiah, who had come to deliver us from our sin, were the shepherds. Ordinary people like you and me. You know, you sit around and you think, there's nothing special about me. If you have children in your life, they'll remind you of that constantly. If you have a loving spouse in your life, they'll especially remind you of that. That kind of, humility is the best gift that my wife, she spoon feeds me that a lot of times. And I deserve it, and I need it. There's not a lot special about many of us. But I'm going to tell you what, when you discover Christ, something just begins to stir in your life. And you discover this not so special me as you're invited to experience the extraordinary God who will be willing to sacrifice everything so that we can experience how extraordinary He is. The Christmas is this moving holiday that we find ourselves on. We've got the same mission as the shepherds, though. That's how I will wrap up today. We've got the same mission as the shepherds. What did the shepherds do? They went and they told. Go and tell. Go tell. Say those two words with me. Go tell. Now say it with an exclamation point, because that's what's up there, right? Go tell. I want to have a get real moment. A get real moment. Because the truth be told, we're living in a world where people are moving away from the faith. We live in a world where people are leaving the church and they're not coming back to the church. Well, they have faith, sure. I believe it. But I'm going to tell you, outside the church, that faith is built on a very flimsy foundation. Because I've done funerals of people outside the church. And I've buried people who don't have faith outside the church. And they build their foundation in their life on a very flimsy foundation. This is the first generation, and it's an alarming fact we should be very concerned about. If you're the parent of a teenager, or the soon-to-be teenager, the rising, the greatest generation that is wandering from the church and not coming home is a generation that is between 18 and 25 right now. Young people that were raised in the church, that left the church, and they're not coming back to the church. We should be very alarmed about that, because let's be honest here. We're looking at the stark reality of our congregation. And Josh Smith has informed me just the other day, and he said, Chris, in about 3 to 4 years, we won't have a junior high youth. Because we're not repopulating that generation. And he said in about 8 years, if things don't change at St. James, there won't be a youth group. Man, that's a kind of slap you in the face statistic, but it's true. Because you think about it, how old is Brooklyn? Brooklyn's in 3rd grade, 2nd grade? 3rd grade. 8 years from now, Brooklyn will be a junior in high school. Oh, that's scary. That's scary. That's real scary. Ten years. 10 years, our youngest. Kevin, how old's Kevin again?
3. Just turned 3.
10 years from now, Kevin will be 13. He'll be the youngest youth we have in our congregation. This is called pause for dramatic effect. But you know what? Here's what I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about it. Because if we'll get as excited about the shepherds about going and telling, this won't be a problem. If you'll get as excited about sharing the good news of Jesus with others as you get as excited about going to a new restaurant in Bowling Green, everybody's talking about Buffalo Wild Wings. As though this is some that came out of heaven. I mean, Keith Packard posted yesterday on his Facebook, and he's not here, and he's watching, so maybe, I don't know if he is or not, but they have a VIP room at the new Buffalo Wild Wings. excited about a restaurant, and it was already here. There you go. Imagine if we would get just as excited about telling people about Jesus. Imagine what would happen to our church. Imagine what would happen to your neighborhood. Imagine what would happen to Bowling Green. You can, or you can't. It's really your choice. Go and tell, or be quiet and don't. Which will you choose? I hope you'll let God lead you. And reflect this a moment on what God might be saying to you. You know, you can't talk about go tell and not sing that song. So I guess I stole it from this hymn. Go tell it on the mountain. You know what? You're going to have to journey a ways. You're going to have to journey a ways if you're going to tell it on a mountain in Kentucky. So maybe we should sing Go Tell It on Scottsville Road, or Go Tell It on Peachtree Lane, or Go Tell It on my street. When seriously, when you sing this song, I know you're going to sing mountain and do that, but here's what I want you to think. I want you to think about your street. I want you to think about your coworkers. I want you to think about your neighborhood. Because that's your mountain. And I'm going to tell you what, mountains are fun to climb. They are fun to climb, but it's hard work. If you saw Ashley and I climbing the rock in Uganda, Matthew and Ben were just hot-tailing it up there. I was walking up like an old man. I mean, every 20 seconds I'm like, hold on. Hold on. And I just remember climbing a mountain's tough. But when you get to the top, it's worth it. Can you imagine sharing the good news of Jesus with a neighbor, friend, and co-workers, and them saying, you know what? You know what, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna show up. And them giving their heart to Christ. Man, it's worth it. So when we sing Go Tell It on the Mountain, I want you to think not about the mountain, but I want you to think about where you live. And don't be afraid. Because you can. Would you rise and let's sing together? Go Tell It on the Mountain. get her. So, Linda, I thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate you so much.
I know you read, I said this in here, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
SPRC and from all of us.
Thank you all very, very much. You all are a great, great blessing to me and my family. We appreciate your love and your support. This is our 12th, what is it, 12th or 13th Christmas? 13th? 13th Christmas again. You know, 13 is not a bad number. It's a pretty good number. And you're pretty good people. Now, you're really good people. We love you. We thank you so much. We look forward to spending tomorrow night with you. I hope you can come back for Christmas Eve for worship at 6 p.m. If you can't worship at 6, we do offer a come and go communion from 5 to 5:30. If you want to bring your family out, you can just experience Holy Communion, and you can go do your family thing or go be somewhere else if you need to be that. And so come back tomorrow night if you can. If not, God bless you. Have a very wonderful Merry Christmas. Have a great day in the Lord. Enjoy your day. Enjoy the fun and laughter of the day. And experience the Emmanuel in your midst. Go, tell it on the mountain, wherever the mountain is for you. Let's go forth in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.